Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by AcousticHealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. Welcome to this quantum conversation. We are here with a high vibrational teacher who's here to talk about the timelines and dimensions. And she works with the light codes of creation, of the Elohim. Maraya Forrest is here with us. Let's welcome her to this beautiful show. Hi, Maraya.
Hi, Lauren. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
This is really fascinating, the codes of creation of the Elohim and our heart and how we're connected to nature and what that's all about. We're going to talk all about it, but first I want to talk about you. You grew up in Africa, wild Africa. Share that story with us, which led to your awakening.
I was born in my father was a game ranger. So I was born and lived in the game reserves in northern Zululand, and as such, grew up with the wild animals, no electricity. We had a generator for a couple of hours in the evenings, and it was a very wild and free, connecting, I would say, childhood. I did have a trauma, and a couple of traumas, which led me to choose to leave. So when I was just a month under 5 years old, I drowned. And I think that's what opened the connection up for me in retrospect. And then it was only really when I started to process that trauma later on in life that I started to deepen the connection through the pain body, through grounding the pain body and allowing my light to embody.
So that was a near-death experience.
Correct, yes.
So you said 1 month and 5 years old, so you were 5 years old?
I was 1 month short of 5 years old, yeah.
1 month short of 5 years old. Do you recall, you said that you processed it later in life, did you recall that experience of a near-death experience consciously, like some people remember, or?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I went through the death process. You go, I think it's the same, whether you do it slowly or whether you do it quickly. I think it's potentially the same for everybody, right? You have to go through all the emotions of surrender. And so I redid that a few times so that I lost the fear of it. I don't know if you ever really lose the fear of it, but, going and then just the hardest part was exiting the body. So, that's where the resistance is, because that's the fear, is to leave the body. And I don't really astral travel as a result of it, because I think I have that. Well, I haven't up to now, although I potentially could now, because I don't have that fear anymore of not, I've processed the leaving. Because what happens is when you have a trauma, you magnetize equal vibrations. So whether those characters are seen or unseen. So if it's seen, then it would be in the patterns of your existence, right, on the earth plane materialized. But in the unseen world, you magnetize those characters, spirits from the lower astral planes, which have had similar traumas to you, and then they stay with you. So I had, a bunch of people, 4 women that were with me, always trying to convince me that the best thing to do would be to leave again. And it was only really once I started to understand the timelines and dimensions and characters and archetypes and patterns of creation that I really started to deal with it. And then I confronted them and said, look, I'm not leaving. I have a purpose. I'm here and I'm coming to complete it.
So do you mean that the 4 beings, they were from the lower astral world?
Yeah, well, trauma is a lower frequency, right? So, yeah.
Wow, fascinating. Fascinating. At what age did you really reckon with this trauma?
I think it's been a lifelong process, right? We keep deepening into our suffering until such time as we embody the light that shines on all the darkness, and then are able to become crystalline, Christ-aligned. Yeah.
Well, we're going to have a fascinating conversation because there's questions that just you describing this experience and now your understanding of the codes of creation of the Elohim. So tell us more about the codes of creation with the Elohim.
So my understanding, and I just share always from my own experience, so it's not the truth, it's just my truth. um, there are sounds. I was witness to the creation of the earth with the avatars, and those sounds of the original creation, I can remember. But if you take those sounds, which is really the light threads moving into patterns of the original structure and design of the earth, if you take those sounds and you break them into actual with consonants with that's the codes, then they become words. I mean, I suppose if you had to loosely translate it, form comes into being through the elements, earth, water, air, and fire. So the elements and the Elohim create form under the guidance of the Devic kingdom, but with the elemental kingdom. So the elemental kingdom are the nature spirits. If you look at the light of the Elohim, because the light of creation is available to all creator beings, but the light of the Elohim, it's very specific. It has the characters of the elemental kingdom or the nature spirits in it. It's not just the patterns, the structure of the light of whatever creator is creating. And that's why we call the light of the Elohim or the light of our creator's heart as seen in Mother Nature, we call it the Holy Spirit.
You work with these codes. You can help people work with these codes. What's going on there?
Well, the codes, everything's like an underlying program before form comes into being. So the translation of it would be, if you take earth to be the physical body, water is the emotional body, air is the mental body, and fire is the spirit body. This is also the cross and the circle, our earth symbol. So what we need to do, we call these the lower four bodies. We need to bring those four bodies into balance. So the cross and the circle. And then this circle of light is, if you imagine a circle of light around you as a tube of light, it would be what we call your light stream. So what we're needing to do is to balance the lower four bodies, that you come into vertical alignment. And that would be the element ether, the light of the soul. Once you're in vertical alignment, we can align the timelines and dimensions, which are like circles and cycles. Imagine cogs in different frequencies of light. So they are all at different layers and levels of vertical alignment. Then what we do is the ones that have the same patterns in them and the same frequencies, we push them into the light stream. And then we're able to clear the patterns. I'm able to clear the patterns through all time and space of your consciousness, because it's all now. So if you're stuck in, 12, 14, being hung, and you're still now afraid of, judgment or whatever, or you're in the dungeon. If we take an archetypal story, say now you are working for the king, you betray the king, which is the self-empowered aspect of, your consciousness, and you're now in the dungeon suffering. So often, in terms of even the archetypal stories that play out, I would have to go and fetch you in the dungeon in 1214, where you have betrayed the king, your own self, that self-empowered aspect of you, your consciousness. Okay, so to take it a little bit deeper, if the soul came to the planet to learn, everything is a mirror. It sees itself in the mirror. So we have the archetypal stories of creation as keys to the creational process, but actually everything you're seeing, the patterns of your creation and what you're learning from, you're seeing in the mirror.
What do you see then as you're doing this process? And we'll get to a point here where we can do a little process with you as well. Okay, that'd be wonderful. But what are you seeing as you're assisting people with this? Do you have that clairvoyance or clairaudience or a sensing?
Well, because I have the codes, what I do is I become the consciousness of that which is. All right. And then I unlock that consciousness. If it's a distortion, which is a darkness, I use the same process as the plants, because I'm an elemental, right? So I use photosynthesis and I dissolve it into the dark, which is very dark and guttural, the sounds of it. But I process it through the body and then dissolve it into the light. And then I unlock the consciousness, always returning in those spaces, the light. So for example, the God name Yahweh, if I had to sing it, the codes of it. Okay, let me see if I can do it. So I'm going to give you the code, and then I'm going to push it into the threads of light of the Elohim, of the avatars, so that you can see the difference. So the God name Yahweh, so YHWH or Yahweh Vade, is and this, of course, is in the blueprint design of each soul signature, which is each individual, it's different for what that person needs or what that circumstance needs. It's different. So it changes. The codes change all the time. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yo, yo, wow, yo, wow, yo, wow, yo. Oh, so you can hear the difference between the codes and the sounds of creation. So the avatar sounds are actually far more pure because so if you had to take it in terms of form itself, it would be the rocks of the earth because they're the most dense, they're the most solidified. So it's at its densest form, in other words.
I'd like you to explain more about the sound of the avatars. What do you mean by this? Can you describe the avatars and the difference between the light of the Elohim and the codes?
So the avatars are the creators of this universe. And when I look into the unconscious of a person, so if I was looking into the physical body, because I work through earth, water, air, and fire. Earth is the physical body, right? So I would literally look over the sands of time. If there was a life force that is sitting on the person or interfering with the person that is separate from them, your life force looks as a serpent energy because it's Kundalini, right? And there are laws around it. So I follow the laws of the universe with these energies. Then I would see over the sands of time, as I'm looking through all of consciousness, through all of the physical body, I would see a serpent lying on the sands of time. If it was in the body, materializing as an interference or as a distortion, then I would look if it's got red eyes, a demon in it, or so on. If it was in the mental body, it would be in the air. If I have to go into the unconscious and dig around in the unconscious, I'm in the night sky. Because when we're conscious, it's daytime. And when it's unconscious, it's the nighttime. It's night sky. And then I'm looking at the blueprint of creation, which is really your universe is the stars. How your universe is seen to you depends on the position that you landed on the earth plane in relation to your universe, to the stars. So it's the moment you were born and physically incarnated. And that's what we call astrology, right?
You have quite a gift, quite an ability that allows you to see this, and you can look into people's consciousness. And you work with people. We're going to talk about ways that people can work with you. You do group settings, group teachings, where you're helping to recode or bring light in or to align one inside. What do you think are some of the patterns then? Like you mentioned the Kundalini and the laws around the Kundalini, and do people ever get freaked out when you describe what you're seeing, or what do you see in addition to this?
Well, sometimes I see archetypal stories, and that's much healthier for me than to see, for example, somebody who's been sexually abused, so I get clues to it, right? Because otherwise it's also very traumatic for me because I become the consciousness of the abuse. So, and I think that, you asked me about the patterns. I think the one I'd like to share the most would be disempowerment, really, because empowerment, if you take what is empowerment? Well, the archetypes of empowerment are the king and the queen, because our house in our consciousness that is most empowered is the castle of our consciousness. There's even a book written about it by Therese of Avila. And if we are going to, the castle belongs to the kingdom. So if we are going to land the kingdoms of heaven, we need to be self-empowered. We need to have the king, queen archetype within us. We have all the characters in us, of course. We have all of them. And each one has its own purpose as well. And we study all of them, But so I think the pattern I see the most is disempowerment, whether it be, just through my own learnings that I've chosen to learn in those schools, but I see a lot of addiction, sexual abuse, disempowerment to patterns that are interfere. There's a lot there. Just to keep in mind, though, that how do you know what your divine nature is? Well, the landscapes of Mother Earth and all your lifetimes on her, wherever you've incarnated, are the landscapes of your consciousness. So I'm always, when I look at you, I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at the landscapes of your consciousness. So it's like looking at Mother Earth. Different parts of your body are different parts of Mother Earth. There is no separation between you and Mother Earth, the heart of the creator in materialized form.
We are nature. We are nature. You said a lot there. all of the characters, are these the archetypal characters? Can you expand on that? Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think the ones that come up the most for me, which I would mention, would be the part of yourself that you trust the most would be the little girl. She's under the karmic age of 7. She wears a white dress of purity and innocence, and she's magical. So when you feel into your little girl, she needs, that relationship is very important. The little boy, he gives you what you need. I often see him with his ladder, which is Jacob's ladder, the DNA, leaning against the moon. The moon shines light into the night sky, the unconscious. So he goes into the starry night sky to bring back the patterns of your creation to give you what you need. Then you have all the other characters. You have the magician. He's wonderful. He's a magician. He can, create, but he has an ace up his sleeve. How trustworthy is he? He's an entertainer. He loves to entertain. He's charming. He can pull a dove out of a hat, which is peace. He can pull a bunny out of a hat, which is birthing new consciousness. He can pull rainbows of light from his pocket in colors of, the chakras. But don't forget, he's got an ace up his sleeve. If you look at the relationships between the characters, that's often what's playing out in the person's story. So if the little girl and the father, who would be the king, empowerment and trust, because the little girl is the part of yourself that you trust, that relationship is now important. So all the characters in your consciousness, no matter what they are, whether also, we have, the one that betrays, you have that whole side of things as well, the shady characters. But the ones that are most important at the moment that come up over and over again are the little girl, because we need to trust ourselves because we've made a bit of a mess. And as individuals and as a collective, and self-empowerment, to empower ourselves to know that we can create the new earth.
This would be a great time to talk more about the course that you teach and what that's all about. It's limited to 12 people at a time, so you can work with the individuals. Tell us what's going on there.
So when I do individual sessions, I go into your consciousness, and then I bring from the unconscious into consciousness that which needs attention, right? And it shouldn't be anything you don't know unless I'm going very deep and you haven't done a lot of work. In the group, you get to do the work, which is really great for me, because I've been studying with, the student is the teacher. So I've been studying with all my students for quite a few years now. And in the group work, what happens is I tell them what we're going to do. And the group that I'm doing at the moment is really an overview of consciousness, so that you can go in and see what comes up for you. And then I do an analysis. So I'll sing. I'll tell you what we're going to do. And then I'll sing, and you'll go inward. Some people get a feeling, some people get a vision, some people get a sound, and whether you get one small vision or whether you get a whole entire story that looks like a movie, it doesn't matter, because you get what you need. And then we'll talk about it, and I'll explain what it means. And often, like the first sort of half of the course is a lot of clearing, because we need to create space for the new earth patterns to come in, and your gifts, because every soul has their own unique gifts. And then the second half of the course is really, I shouldn't really say that, because wherever we clear, we always bring the light in. But the second half of the course is more about embodying the new earth patterns, your gifts, and what you bring, your puzzle piece to the whole.
Okay, that sounds fascinating. I wonder if you could take us on a little journey right now, so we can hear more of the singing of the codes, the sounds of the avatars.
Well, I think the best thing to do is, because I was giving it some thought, is to first show you how I align myself every day in the space-time continuum.
Yes.
So how I use what I do to do that. And that normally takes, a few minutes, a bit more than 5 minutes. And then I don't know what will arrive, because I'm a medium. So then I will sing, and then we'll see what arrives. So I don't know. I have to wait and see. All right. So excuse me if I'm spitting, because I pick stuff up as well. So sorry, I apologize. All right. So I think let's just do a little bit of grounding first and aligning, so that you can come into the center of the heart. So taking a couple of deep breaths into the body, consciously relaxing the body. and letting go of all that is no longer needed in this now moment. So on the next out breath, let go. Let go. And let Great Spirit, the universe, the laws of time and space, our creator, source. And then coming into the heart, hello, my heart, I'm here. I welcome all that I am. I am all that I am. As we welcome all those beings from on high, the highest and the holiest of the Christed light, the Christ-aligned crystalline light that love us unconditionally and will be present in this moment. And here you can invite who you'd like to invite. I'm going to invite my master teachers and guides, so your master teachers and guides. I will invite the people that I work with, but feel free to invite who you'd like to, the star nations, the angelic and archangelic kingdoms who hold us in prayer and song always. The Elohim, the mighty Elohim, who bring form into being through the elements earth, water, air, and fire, where earth is earth is the physical body, water is the emotional body, air is the mental body, and fire is the spirit body. They do this under the guidance of the Devic kingdom and the elemental kingdom. I use the codes of creation to unlock distorted patterns and return the blueprint of creation in case that should happen. And then we welcome the avatars, the creators of this universe. Pushing the light threads, this is with the sounds of creation, pushing the light threads into the original designs and of the structure of the earth herself, seen in its most dense form in the mountains. That's why we call them the mountains of wisdom. So let us begin with I'm Earth, if you can imagine growing some roots from your feet. And dropping a grounding cord, any color of your choice, from your sacral chakra into the heart of Mother Earth. I am water, the emotional body. Hello, my heart, how are you? See if you can find a word for the feeling in your heart. This brings you into presence, into this now moment. As I connect you into the song lines of the whales and the dolphins. This is the light of the Great Spirit, the Mahatma. I am air, the mind, the mental body, the breath of life and connection. Breathing into the heart, connecting into the heart. This is the center of the cross and the circle, our earth symbol. Within your heart are all of your lifetimes. And those experiences hold your wisdom and bring your truth, your unique perspective to the whole, to the one. It is within your heart that the answers to your questions, to your prayers lay. To become a disciple of the heart, the word discipline comes from the word disciple. One needs the discipline to be aware, conscious of breathing and connecting into the heart. If you feel into the air outside around the body, this is universal or collective consciousness. And here anything can be accessed. Here the mind runs untrained. So consciously breathing and connecting into your heart. Here I am. And then I am fire, the spirit body. I welcome more of my spirit into embodiment, bringing balance to the four bodies. So these are the lower four bodies. It's the horizontal connection. Now we move into vertical alignment. So feel into the circle of light around you, this tube of light that we call your light stream. This is the element ether. I welcome the light of my soul. And with this, we welcome the great spirits of the four directions who are holding your light stream within the space-time continuum. This is your compass, your true north. That moment you landed on the earth plane in your position in relation to the stars, to your universe. Welcome, great spirit of the north. Welcome, great spirit of the south. Welcome, great spirit of the west. And welcome, great spirit of the east. And we welcome the 4 archangels of the directions who are assisting with higher levels of light connection and following the law of as high as you go is as low as you go. This is deepening your roots, grounding you into this plane of existence. Welcome Archangel Raphael with the kingdoms of heaven. Archangel Michael, protection with grounding. As your light embodies, his legions of light bring protection to you. Archangel Gabriel, connectivity, golden spirals of heartfelt light connection to all that you are. And Archangel Uriel, remembrance, the knowing of self. And knowing that your light streams forth from the heart of the Creator or the heart of creation, where you were originally intended with a purpose. It holds your soul signature frequencies, unique to you, immeasurable, for you are ever expanding and incomparable in your magnificence, flowing through all time and space, coming into our universe, passing through the 12 sons of God, the closest sun in our solar system. And then this light of God that you are flows around through and in you. It is you. It flows through this beautiful living organism, this gift from Mother Earth, your body, and continues to flow into her heart. And knowing that Mother Earth's heart, your heart, and the heart of the Creator are one heart, there's no separation. As you stand on Mother Earth, she's your teacher. The many places that you've lived, her landscapes, are the landscapes of your consciousness. You know the stillness of the desert. You've lived there many lives. You know the warm embrace of the forest with a cacophony of sounds of the birds, the nature spirits, the creatures. Its canopy of green leaves, the green of the heart chakra, Mother Nature, your divine nature. You know the wild emotions of the oceans, the ocean with shifting tides and currents. And you know the wisdom of the mountains, for you too have a wise sage in the cave of your heart who holds your book of knowledge. You know how to metamorphosize. You are the butterfly. You know how to trust when you're in free fall. You are the waterfall connected to the flow of your life, the river of life. And you know how to rebalance yourself after a storm to the dawning of a new day, where you have clarity and understanding. You know these things because you've learned them from Mother Earth, our teacher. As you stand upon her, there's no separation. She floats in a night sky on the patterns of creation, where the light and the design of the stars are the design of your universe. So feeling into your heart, hello my heart, I'm here. I welcome all that I am. I am all that I am. So I'll sing a song and then we'll see what comes up. I hope I'll be able to interpret correctly. So I work with my hands as well. I'm so used to doing it on my own. All right. Saya jaya dayan, daya jikiayan, daya dayan, jikiaran daya, oh jikiaran, jikiaran daya, oh jayan, jikiaran daya, oh ya doyan, jikiaran daya, oh yan jan jikiaran dan daya. Oh, I'm in the heart chakra, over the sands of time. So looking through the earth herself. And before me is the horizon with a sun. It could be the setting or the rising sun. So the ends and completion, west and east. Completion, new beginnings, which is the first and second dimension. upon which all the other dimensions follow. Ajay daya wai on dichiki andaya okolara dia achiki ataya oya jaya wawan jitiki andaya oya wawan bawa hiro oh jaya daya the ocean into the emotional body. Going out through past the blue skies into the night sky, the unconscious. Opening pathways. Okay, there's an island before me across in the ocean, and there is a portal of light. So this portal is to just in your heart imagine that you are seeing this big rock. It's sort of Gothic shaped, that arched shape, like a doorway. And I suspect I'm going to bring some codings in. You can hear this is the blueprint of creation, the God name Yahweh. Bringing West and East closer together. I'll give you the teaching just now about it, which is the first and second dimension. Completion, new beginnings for those that are calling this in. Aligning to your heart. And ending with the pink of the sunset and sunrise. So this is very important, the coloring. It is loving compassion. If you look at the colors of the sunrise and sunset, or the sunset and sunrise, completion and new beginnings, in order for the Kundalini to move forward, it moves west, east, left, right, it oscillates. This is how we move forward, completion, new beginnings, the first and second dimension. The colors of the sunset and sunrise are blue, pink, and gold or yellow. These colors we call the threefold flame. Seen in terms of the fleur de lis on royal fabric. For in order to move forward, we need to be self-empowered, the king-queen archetype. You see the fleur de lis on the king's crown, the fabric. The clues are everywhere, the gates in Hyde Park. And these are keys to the creational process. So the colors, how they work, is willpower is blue. It's the first ray. Pink is loving compassion. And yellow, gold, is wisdom. When you are in your suffering, and I truly implore you to hear these words now. When you are in your suffering, use your willpower, the blue ray, to breathe into compassion. Feel the feeling of compassion in your hearts. For this frequency is far higher than suffering. And that frequency enables you to find the wisdom to accept your experience, potentially to find forgiveness for yourself, but to know what you learn from this experience so that you can move forward. And that is the serpent, the Kundalini moving forward. It takes willpower. You know, I work a lot with disempowerment, and I can do everything for the client, but I cannot give them willpower. The first ray. Yeah, El Moya, right?
Thank you so much for that. I felt in the beginning tears as we connected with the earth. There's no separation of our heart and earth, and I could feel that. And the rest just brought incredible peace. And I do feel an alignment. So it brings up a question. Our heart has all of the information, all of our past lives. The earth has our past lives. I had a revelation one time that our bones from past lives are still on this planet. And that, I don't know why I share that right now, but I wanted to see your take on that. What are we supposed to do with that information? Is that why we are called to some places, or we resist some places? What do we do with that information? How do we navigate ourselves on the planet?
Yeah, especially some people have got many lives here. So the one I would say that you'd like to connect to is the one that comes to the higher dimensional timelines would be the time matrix, which is essential, right, for you to move through time and space. So that would be the Egyptian timeline. And then the five I work with are the Egyptian timeline, the Mayan and Aztec cultures, Lemuria and Atlantis. But Egypt, you were clever enough to embalm your body. So not only do you hold the frequencies from Egypt, you know, that body, but you embalm the frequencies, the higher dimensional frequencies of light. So that's the one you want to connect into, please. And the patterns of Egypt, if you look at the pyramid, if you, as above, so below, follow that law, then it becomes the octahedron of the heart. If you find the center of it and they drop into each other, it becomes the Star of David, which is your vehicle of light to travel through time and space, which is why the Egyptian timeline, or Egypt, is the time-space matrix. So yeah, connect into Egypt. Don't worry about all the suffering. We're moving forward in hope and joy. We're bringing in the new earth patterns. So, you know, we're looking for our wisdom. What we've learned from our pain, the karmic timelines, what we've learned from our pain and suffering is our wisdom. We're embodying wisdom now in order to create the new earth patterns. Yeah. A new life.
Okay. All right. Beautiful. It's very interesting. I just want to share that when I was mentioning resistance, I've always resisted Egypt, going to Egypt. I do remember past lives, plural, in Egypt. And I actually remember being killed by the Romans, actually, or being Roman. And I can't articulate that too much. But another thing that, so I need to really make space for Egypt. I need to go and figure out where that resistance is coming from. Yes. And
Yeah,
make,
because Egypt did fall, right? So yeah. So potentially that's what you're resisting, is the fallen consciousness that you experienced there.
oh, yes. And you mentioned Lemuria as well. And I feel, and I know many who are watching and listening also have a connection. I still feel a deep responsibility for the fall of Lemuria. I feel that I had a role of some sort, and that's interesting. Do you want to share on that? What are we supposed to do?
I can only share my own experience. I wouldn't say I have, a lot of knowledge about all of this, only the experiences I've had through unlocking consciousness. So the Lemuria for me comes the patterns I work with there are actually mostly to do with peace, interestingly. The fall that I work with mostly is Atlantis. So what happens with people, quite a few clients actually, the fall of Atlantis and the role they played there has played a lot in the patterns of creation to learn from that. And they have such a fear during this time of it happening again that it's one of the ones that I have to go to the beginning of to remove, so that they don't have that fears, because it's a block, right? When you have fear, it's a block. And so to bring back the theme of the planet that we're studying is courage. So to bring your courage back, to move to love, you have to let go of the fear. So I need to go back to the beginning of time where that fear was created. And during this time, it's got a lot to do with what we did wrong, where we messed up, and owning it so that we don't do it again. And that's experience, right? Experience is the teacher. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I know I was Lemurian in Atlantis. So we just embrace the wisdom from all of this and let the rest go.
We're shutting down the karmic timelines. So, and we have a belief system on that timeline that our soul grows through pain and suffering. But, the wisdom from the pain and suffering is how we move forward, right? What did I learn? If you, in every painful situation, just asked yourself, what am I learning here? Why have I chosen this? It's going to propel that movement forward. Instead of being stuck in the suffering, you're going to move forward a lot quicker. Because what am I learning from this? And, why did I choose this to learn from it? Okay, so I don't do it again. Because now you have the wisdom to choose love. Yes. Loving yourself enough not to let yourself suffer.
Ah, interesting. As I contemplate what you say, I hear that we love ourselves even in the face of society going against societal norms, because I know what's right in my heart. And I keep hearing the word love prevails. Love prevails. So love prevails. We're here for love. We're here to evolve love. And as we evolve love, there's certain societal patterns that have to be transcended.
Unless we're still learning from them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh
so some of us are doing karmas now for, what one would call futuristic lifetimes of creation.
Explain more about timelines and how we can anchor the new earth timelines.
Well, you need to come into alignment. So the principle of that would be the cross and the circle, our earth symbol, balancing the lower four bodies. And this is a practice. It takes an enormous amount of discipline to become that disciple of the heart. Once you've balanced those lower four bodies, you've got control over the beast, however you want to say it, right? Each of us has some of us have an overactive mental body, and we feed ourselves the wrong information. And then there's, really hurricanes on the earth, because at a collective level, that's the winds. It's the air. Some of us have emotional traumas that we're sort of escaping, maybe running away from, and we need to get control over the emotional bodies. Watch what you're giving the emotional body, and or suppressing or whatever, in which case you'd have typhoons at a collective level. And the physical body, it needs to be exercised. It needs to be eat from the blueprint. If it doesn't look like food, it's not food. So in order to align and to come into vertical alignment, the four bodies, your spirit body as well, the fire, it follows the laws of nature. If you have too much water on the earth plane, you've been crying too much, you need to bring out the sun. You need to breathe in the love of the Father, of creation, the light of your soul. You need to receive. So receive the light, to call in the fire elementals. Do what your spirit needs to get the fire, the light into you. And find the discipline to do it instead of, laying in victim consciousness, woe is me, in a puddle on the floor. Take a look. Okay, what's going on in earth, water, air, fire? What's going on in my bodies? What's going on? What am I neglecting in myself? I need to mother myself. So I need to protect myself, father myself. That's the mother and father of inside your consciousness that is looking after the child of God that you are. Then you start coming into vertical alignment. And that's where the timelines, you become multidimensional, literally, because those timelines then start lining up and you start meeting yourself. And those, we call them characteristics. In my experience, they're actual characters.
Yeah. Okay, that's fascinating. It's balancing then. And I love what you said about this is how we come into our multidimensional reality. Can you expand a little bit more on multidimensional reality?
Well, if all consciousness is now, the dimensions, how they work and how we think they work. I actually teach this on the course because it's very simple. If you break the nine that I work with down, which is the ninth is co-creation, because that's where we're going now, is we're becoming co-creators, right? But in terms of the timelines, it's aspects of yourself that are in different places or different spaces that you are now remembering. And in those places, of course, you have all your friends. In South Africa, we call it your chommies, You have all your mates. And of course, as we're becoming, tribe is coming together, those friends, people are meeting more and more tribe now. It's because as the dimensions are landing, the light of your soul is landing in your body and you're embodying all of that you are. Those timelines of memories of creating together or being on the earth plane together are landing and you are remembering. Does that make sense?
It does. It brings to mind people. Okay, so it does explain. Recently, maybe a month or two ago, I had an experience where it seemed so surreal. I was looking around and I could see past lives that I've had with a lot of people, like everyone. What are we to do with this? I mean, how are we to, what do we do with it? Just love and share and communicate and collaborate. What do you
trust yourself? I think trust yourself, because some people, maybe it weren't so good for you. When you get that feeling of like back off, maybe just back off. And when you get that feeling of, oh, wow, I'm so happy to see you. Can we do something together? Can we create something together? Then go with it. There's a big trust factor coming in here.
Oh, yes. Trust. And that kind of touches on what I was saying earlier about trust yourself and your wisdom within, whether it's out in society or the collective may say, no, that's not right. But if you know it feels right within you, that's really what I'm trying to get at, is that's what we have to follow.
So that would come back to the light of the Holy Spirit. So the fire elementals that embody the nature of being here. The more in alignment you are with the light of our Creator's heart and the divine blueprint, the nature spirits, the easier it is for you to trust. Because the frequencies are home.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm feeling into it and I trust. My head, on the other hand, doesn't want to trust, and it wants to step on it and beat this up and tear it to shreds. But when I'm in my heart, I know it's right. So aligning in the heart and with the source, and what we did today truly put us there, and it felt like home. It feels like home.
That's where I am, right?
Okay, so there's really nothing to do except do this alignment, this balance. Can I know you've got your course, and we're going to talk a little bit more about your course. And is there a way that we could balance? Do you want to share one more time balancing and centering in the heart and working with these elements?
Give yourself what you need. So you look at the four bodies. Physically, am I eating from the blueprint, the earth? If it doesn't look like food, it's not food. And I really love crisps, but they're not a potato, okay? You know, have the discipline to align your physical body, give it exercise and give it sleep. Give yourself what you need. Emotionally, look after yourself. When you come into your heart every 10 minutes, if you can. I mean, my guides used to drive me nuts with this quite a few years back. Every 10 minutes, they'd ask me, Maraya, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Ask your heart. Hello, my heart. How are you? See if you can find a word for the feeling in your heart. This brings you into presence. It brings you into not how I wish I felt or remembering how so-and-so did me in yesterday and I'm so angry. No, you're just repeating cycles and patterns there. Come into the heart. Hello, my heart. How are you? Be honest with yourself. Give a word to the feeling because that is the truth. Find the truth. And then the mental body. Have some discipline with the mental body. Watch what you're feeding the mental body. Don't just let your thoughts drift. Don't just follow media that's not good for you. Don't just talk about things that bring you down. Like, show some discipline and respect for your mental body. There's so much on the earth plane at the moment. There's so much interference. There's so many, there's so much disrespect really for who we are and ourselves. So only you can really adjust the fine tuning of what's going through the mind. That's up to you. And then the spirit body, these are the fire elementals. It's that story I said earlier. If there's too much rain, you need the sun to dry up the rain. Give your spirit what it needs. Nature's the best tonic ever, isn't it? If you walk in the forest, it heals you because the patterns that are in the forest push any distorted patterns in the body out. You align with the nature spirits there. So do what you need to do to give your spirit the rest and the rejuvenation that it needs. And you know what that is. If it's reading sacred scripture or, just laying in water where you're feeling into your heart and finding a deep connection because water is a conductor, or walking, on the beach, just give yourself what you need, what is for you, the house, I would say the house of God or the house of spirit, the holy temple within your heart. Find that place where you're able to connect into that holy space within your heart, that you can become silent and really allow the light to filter in there.
I can sense that everyone watching and listening is doing this. And as we move away from this call and this show, I think everyone could take the time to go do this and to check in with ourselves in that way. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Really very, very empowering. Thank you. So let's take a moment and talk about your course and the different elements in the course, because this is an opportunity for people to go deep with you and for embodiment and balance in this way and connection in a whole new way and bringing in patterns of new earth. We are here to build new earth with this alignment. So tell us about the course. Again, it's limited to 12 people so that each of those people get what they need from this course. But what goes on?
Well, basically what I'm going to do is let you go on the journey into your own consciousness to find what needs attention for yourself. And of course, for each person, that's different. So you're going to go inward, and with the codes, I'm going to hold space for you to do that by unlocking. I'm a medium. The spirits work through me. So your master teachers and guides and all all the guidance that needs to come through to you passes through me, and you will get exactly what you need. And then you take a look at it. We're bringing the unconscious into consciousness. And often people don't understand, but what does this mean? And then I'll do the analysis of it, because it's actually quite simple. So that's what I'm teaching as well, is how it works, how consciousness works, the archetypes, what they mean, what the stories mean if you're looking at a story. And, sometimes I'll be digging in someone's consciousness and I'll get told the story of, my most fascinating one was Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. And I didn't know what it was. And then Spirit explained to me that is as a key story, because every story is important. I mean, the little girl under the rainbows, one of the key stories on the pot of gold, the rainbow being your chakras and so on. But Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall was the egg, a new seed of creation, birthing new consciousness can sometimes not happen. So on a practical level, it's when, say now you're falling in love with someone and the relationship doesn't work, and then you're so disappointed because, the egg, that new beginning, maybe you were getting back together again, it broke and didn't happen. And of course, you can't fix an egg. Once that new beginning is gone, it's gone. But then what Spirit was saying to me, but he sat on the wall of the castle, and the castle structure is still there. It's not going anywhere. So whatever your castle embodies, it's there. So, I didn't know that. So that's what I do for people. And if I don't understand what they are, then I download it. So my higher guidance is the Star Nation. So then I speak the languages. So then I'll ask for higher guidance, and then they'll tell me, and I just, then I share what it is. But it's beautiful. And I like it because I like it way more because I love to hear people's stories and what they're dealing with, and then watching them evolve. It's important to take integration time afterwards. I can say that. It is a deep process that one goes into. It's not something that you would squeeze into your day. It's something that you would apply yourself to, because you're going into the unconscious and you're unveiling to yourself that which needs attention, needs to be cleared, needs to be understood, so that the suffering of it can be left behind and you're open to the new beginning.
There's modules or parts to your course where you explain different things, and I just want to share that you do go over what is consciousness and the nature of multidimensional reality, and then the key stories as clues to understanding consciousness, and timelines and archetype characters or characteristics. Do you want to say anything more about timelines?
Timelines are so important if you've got the same pattern running and you're clearing it from this timeline, but it's playing out in other timelines, especially as like that one I said about, if you've betrayed yourself, you're the king and queen. If you've betrayed yourself and you're suffering in victim consciousness now, not realizing you're the victim and the persecutor, actually, because you're always all the characters in the story, and they're mirrored around you in your daily life as the mirror to the soul seeing itself. That's why we're here, right? We can't see ourselves except in the mirror. So if you've got a pattern playing out where you're, for example, a victim and you're in 12, 14 stuck in the dungeon, you need to clear it out from all of that. It needs to come into consciousness, as I've been playing this pattern out for quite a few lifetimes, and you need to let it go. And I think that's where the timelines are so important, is to understand that all consciousness is now. And it's, literally, I will see someone who's been stuck in the dungeon, or the self-saboteur who's hanging herself, and she will not die. In her consciousness, she's still hanging on that rope, or he's still stuck in the dungeon, and he will not die. He will not even look like a human anymore, because they do not want to let go of that suffering. So it's important to realize, like, it's time to let go. It's time to find, what did I learn from this experience, and let it go through all consciousness. Let it go through all four bodies. Release it. I have the wisdom now. I understand what I learned. I'm ready to move forward and choose differently. I'm going to choose love, to love myself, not to suffer anymore.
Yes, okay, that is fascinating. It all comes down to the choice for love, and self-love is a big part of that. Yes. And another part of this course is talking about the dimensions. So that's going to be thrilling and fascinating for people on all of the dimensions. Do you want to say anything about the dimensions?
The first four I always, teach, because the first and second one are the others follow. That's first and second. So what we did today, completion, new beginnings, what we did today, in order to move forward, the serpent oscillates left and right, west to east, right? So the first four are very important. So the third dimension is where we live. It's the dimension of magnification. So everything slows down and we get to really look at our suffering and what we've learned in intricate detail. And then I take a whole section of time for the fourth, which is flow, because I feel that for me personally, what I've experienced, that this is the most important one at the moment that people are skipping over. You cannot think yourself into love. You have to feel it. And flow is water. It's the river that connects the wisdom of the mountains to the ocean of oneness across the landscapes, the different landscapes of Mother Earth, the body. So flow is key, and that's the fourth dimension. And so I take time here. We do a lot of work here so that you can feel, because feeling is connecting. It's the spirals that are ever expanding. It's the moving from 12 to 13. It embodies so much. So taking time, and then I explain from the 5th to the 9th, because it's very simple. I just explain how it works, and then you can apply it in your own life. Then I'll give you a chance to just apply it to your life. But yeah, I spend time where I feel is the most important, what I'm seeing through my own experience of my work. And the one that's missing for most people, the one that we're afraid of, which is our feeling body. We don't like the feeling of suffering. We need to look at it, to accept, to find compassion, and then to find the wisdom to forgive ourselves so that we can move forward.
I'm just taking in all that you said and applying it to my own consciousness, and it feels really good. And I've got lots of rain here right now. You can probably hear that. All right. So anything else that you'd like to share about your course, and a message for those who are thinking about joining us?
I think it's a calling, really, isn't it? It's if you feel, that you resonate with the work and you're called to it, then follow your heart. And I hope I can help you to deepen your connection and to know how to self-empower yourself, that you can find in your own heart what you need to give yourself, to find the courage and the strength to move forward on your journey, to make wise choices, and to come into acceptance and trust. If you think of the kingdoms of heaven, to land these kingdoms of heaven, what are they? Well, for each person, I suppose there's their own order. Some of us want justice. Some of us want integrity and truth, harmony, loyalty, peace, whatever you're calling in, so that kingdom can land. So, and I will do my very best to help you.
A wonderful guide that you are for those who are ready. And they know who they are. We all know within our hearts. And we've said this before, if all we do is put people in their hearts or assist them coming into the heart, aligning with the heart, then we've done our job. So it seems like a simple task, but it's not always easy. And you're a great facilitator to help people do this. So thank you. And beautiful singing and the codes there. We really could feel the energy and the beings through the singing and the sounds. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Really appreciate it.
Your course is here on this webpage. Check out the special offer button and join Maraya in this magical journey. And it's a journey to your heart and to this connection. And together we are building new earth and bringing new earth patterns here. Okay. Thank you, Maraya.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.